Hello and welcome to the Pink Hair Girl podcast. My name is Sally Jane and it has been a very long time since I did this. So I hope I haven't quite forgotten what to do. I must admit to being a little nervous actually. But so many of you have reached out and said how much you enjoyed the podcast and when was I going to do it again, and so I decided to give it a go again and just reach out and say hi and that I'm still alive and we're still here in England and give you a tiny bit of an update really. Yeah. So we have been in England since April last year. We arrived the very end of March, so we've been here since April. And I did podcasts a few times since we arrived. But it's, life is kind of life, isn't it? They put moving up there with the most stressful things that happened to you in the stressfulness scale. And moving countries, I guess, has to be one of those. Although there seem to be other podcasters that have kind of moved all around the world and handled it with much better, or seem to have just kind of taken it on board and carried on and all the rest. But it was quite a transition, I think. 3 children, one who was a teenager. I think it's very hard for a teenager to move countries. It's been a bit challenging at times for all of us. They always say it takes you 2 years really before you feel somewhat settled, more settled. And it's really up to about 5 years before you feel more like it's home, I guess, than anything else. So we're on about the 18-month mark, and I think it's getting easier. Maybe for other people it's easier than us, but adjusting with 3 children and being an introvert who would always prefer to stay at home. It's been quite challenging to go out and meet people and find a whole new sort of social structure and all of these sort of things. There was one of those meme things I saw, and I can't remember exactly what it says. I'm going to misquote it, but anyway, it basically said something like that life was a constant struggle to outwit the guy inside or the person inside that would prefer to stay at home under the covers and watch Netflix all day. And while I don't really want to sit and watch Netflix all day, there is this part that I guess most of us in some way or another would, maybe I only speak for introverts, or maybe I only speak for myself, I don't know. But yeah, there's a part of me that would always rather be at home, and I've kind of had to challenge myself more now to not always do that, and to not always perhaps let the kids take on my social anxiety. They're also introverts, but I don't think that they need to always view going out to things with the same level of social awkwardness that I have, perhaps, so yeah. We're plodding along, and it's really lovely to be close to my sister. We've had some, made some new friends, and it's really, I love England. I'm not, but the process of moving and resettling somewhere has been challenging at times, and these sorts of things, I guess, always take up a lot of energy and effort, and then you have a little bit less energy and effort for other stuff. And I guess there wasn't as much of me to go around. I didn't seem to have any more to give on social media or a podcast or all of these sorts of things. And I'm sorry that, I'm just very surprised that people still ask for the podcast. They haven't completely given up on me. I suppose another sort of a dynamic was that Rachel doesn't really want to podcast anymore, which is fair enough. I mean, she's a teenager now. She even asks me to take down her old podcast. I think she feels a bit embarrassed about, having been a kid there, and she feels different now. So, yeah, there's a different dynamic there, and so I just have to get used to doing this on my own. I find it much harder to do these on my own, like to just kind of talk to the screen and make up stuff rather than an interaction with somebody else. I always find easier, but whatever, we kind of go on. I have absolutely no idea what I was doing or showing you last time I was doing this. So I thought we would kind of just start from where I am now, what I'm doing, and we'll just go from there, because there was quite a long time I didn't knit very much at all anyway. And I'm sure I've done bits and pieces, but yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what I've been doing. So let me just quickly finish this row, and then I'll tell you about the things that I have mostly been doing. And it's not going to be everything, and I'm probably going to forget stuff, but hey, I didn't write big notes. I'm probably not going to do show notes after this. I thought I'm going to do a kind of a minimal fuss episode, just get it done and see if people will like it, or if I like doing it, or yeah, we'll decide from here. I have been knitting on my Zweig sweater for a very long time. If you follow me on Instagram, then you've probably followed its progress. I didn't even start at the hype of when everybody was doing them. But yeah, I have done my contrasting bit here is in sort of some of the yellows that was left over from my So Faded sweater. Yeah, so that was that bit. And then I've got onto the body here in this sort of kind of chocolate browns, but as you can see, it's not a flat colour. It's quite a sort of a light and sort of darker brown bits. The light is quite bright on this, so it's not showing it terribly well. Anyway, and then I have cast off the body finally, but it seems to be flipping here. And I'm not sure if other people's are flipping. I don't know if I should have done a longer ribbing. I'm a bit worried about running out of yarn, so I haven't done. I'm not sure if I should have done a longer ribbing or if I should have gone down a needle size, and if that would have held it in a bit better and prevented flipping. Those that have done the sweater, or yeah, recently bound off something, what have you done? What do you suggest? Or maybe it'll just block. That famous thing that all knitters think, maybe it'll just block out and be fine. But that would irritate me. If I wore that and it wanted to flip up all the time, I know that would irritate me a lot. So, yeah, I'm not sure. When I put a picture on Instagram and I said I thought I was going to run out of yarn, a lot of people said they thought I should just finish it here. Just rib the arms and leave it at that. And it does look very nice on like that. I guess I'm just worried about, not worried, but I just was thinking, what would I use more? And I tend to think that I would use a sweater more than something with short sleeves. I know my sister said she quite likes putting, a long sleeve top underneath, kind of like a jersey, I don't even know what I'm talking, cotton, like a long t-shirt is I think what I'm trying to say. Underneath, and then you put the this over, and then, but I don't know, I know I wear my So Faded sweater a lot in the winter, and I quite like that it's light, it's sock weight, but that it is warm still ish. So I'm debating, I'm not sure. I have started the sleeves here, and I'm not sure. I think I'm probably going to make it, if I have enough yarn, I think I'm going to make it sleeves. as far as I can. Let me see. What I might need to do is pick up and put the other side on the needles and try to knit the sleeves sort of simultaneously so that it runs out of yarn at the same place. And again, I think I made the body long enough, because I debated, do I make the body short and the sleeves long, or do I go for so then I think I must go for sort of a, if I am going to run out of yarn, a properly 3/4 sleeve rather than a short longer sleeve, if you know what I mean. Being tall, I need to not look like my clothes shrunk. So it would have to be sort of properly 3/4 sleeve, and then I don't know if they will bug me. If I don't know, I'm undecided. So yeah, not sure. I haven't knit on this for a bit because I'm not really sure what to do with the sleeve. So, but I think I might pick up the other sleeve and knit them at the same time and see how far I get. That's probably about it for now. So that's the Zwig, whatever sweater that I have been knitting for a very long time. The other thing that I have been doing that took quite a long time, was a wrap that I've been doing. Now, what I discovered during winter, a proper winter, was that lace weight and sock weight shawls are lovely in the autumn and spring, but when it gets really cold and snowy and you're actually going out, or you're walking, or you're going to be anywhere for any length of time, then they're a bit thin, and they don't always, it's like a bit like sock weight hats are great for in between weather, but not when it's freezing cold. They're not actually going to be warm enough, maybe unless you turn the ribbing over or something like that. But yes, I have realized that you kind of, in South Africa, you need warm weather stuff, and then you need colder weather stuff, and that's all right. There isn't really this autumn and spring kind of thing and then much colder weather thing that you need. So and then I was figuring that often when I go to wear something in my cupboard, I'm quite often actually taking out more like pashminas and things that I have already that are that rectangle shape and that I can fold in half and do that sort of loopy thing, rather than trying to style some of the shawls, especially, I have discovered, the ones that are thin on the one end and go fatter. I land up wrapping and moving and not knowing what to do with the skinny end half the time. So I decided to design something more rectangular, but not make it a straight rectangle, because that sort of felt boring. So it does have slightly tapered edges, but the tape is sort of like that. It starts on this end. And I used 5 balls of yarn that I had single spun yarn that I had from Heartland, and decided to make something that could be worn in a lot of different ways. Now, I used up all of my yarn. So it is 3.4 meters long, which I have no idea what that is in other feet and yards and whatever. I think meters and yards are pretty close. If it's 3.5 meters, it's probably pretty similar in yards. It's long. It's very big. The idea was that the pattern is completely customizable, in that every row, although you're increasing and decreasing, starts on the same number of stitches for the next pattern repeat. So if you wanted to make a bit of it longer or a bit of it shorter, or you wanted to leave out a section, or you wanted whatever, you can play around with it with your own personality or stamp or whatever it is. So if you had slightly less of one color, shorten some of the sections, so if you had a bit less, do one less of these kind of things. Or if you wanted to make the lace section a bit shorter or longer or whatever, or you decided that you wanted more of something or less of something, you wanted more of this or you wanted less of this, or whatever the case may be, it's completely free for you to do what you like, because every row would start with the same number of stitches and you wouldn't need to figure out what to do next. And then I've also made it so that you can do that thing where you put it in half, and you do, it's not going to work very well with my hair loose, is it? Oh, I'm eating hair now. Oh. Where you can do it where you put your scarf through and you do that underneath your coat. You can do that with this, but you can do lots of different things, while you can do that and put your coat over. You can also just wrap it. You know, if you need lots of layers around your neck, you can literally just go wrap, you know, and put your coat on, and then really have it very, you know, if it's really, really cold, then you can have it very, very warm around your neck. So the idea is that you can do what you like with it, and make it short or make it longer or whatever you like. And I mean, there's also the possibility that you can just use it as a wrap, like that, around your shoulders. It is quite warm if you fold it in half. Once you take it off, you can even have it as a knee blanket, as a knee rug, which I did use it while I was knitting it. And yes, I've used these 5 various colours of this single spun heart lamb, and everything is a different stitch pattern, but they do repeat, like the beginning and the end are the same. And there is another section where you get a sort of these little knots and stripes, and the lace is different later on, but you get another sort of section of lace, another sort of stripy section, some eyelets. This one you get the little knots and you get something slightly different in between, but I've tried to vary it but bring in things that kind of made a continuity along the shawl. There's some more eyelets, and then the end is similar to the beginning, because you don't want it to look too much like a stitch sample. You know, you don't want it just to look like you did a whole bunch of random stitches. So the colors, like sometimes you'll see there's just a single stripe of a color, which I know one of the testers said they'd left out because she didn't want to weave in the ends for just one bit. But to me, and this is where you're free to do the things you like, it was a long stretch if you didn't put that blue there. For me, it was quite a long stretch since that had repeated. And while I had wanted to do those colors in between there, to me it needed just a little bit of that before you went on to the other thing. So you'll find there are a couple of those, like there's one in white over here, just between those two, where I'll just bring in a stripe of a color occasionally, just because for me it brings your eye to a certain place, following a color that's not too, it hasn't been too long since you last used the color, but in some areas you need it to a fairly big section of the next color. So there was lots and lots of thought and debating which colors went where, which colors went next. And there were times when I started a section I thought that would work really well, and then it didn't actually work so well with what had been before, or look as good as I wanted it to. So a lot of it is to carry your eye from one bit all the way through to the next. Sorry, I had to get a charger for my laptop. I suddenly thought was going to die. So yeah, so there's a lot more thought goes into some of these designs than it seems like. It kind of seems like, oh, but to plan how the colors balance, or in what ratio they come and how soon they come after each other and things like that, is what makes the process fun to me. Is kind of what makes it, as it starts coming together, you sort of start seeing, oh, that looks really nice together. And I try to make sure that every color repeated next to a different one of the 5 every time, so that you got the contrast of, you know, for example, this kelpie, it's not quite a mustard, it's more like a kind of a greeny yellow color with the really bright royal blue. I thought was an interesting combination. And here you've got that color with the white. I really, really like that with this sort of yellow and mint green color, which really worked well together. And then a very sort of sharp contrast between the white and the blue, which was interesting. So there were times I've tried to kind of put, there's the white and the grey together, the grey next to the kelps. So there are times when all of the different colours have a chance to be next to each other and kind of play around together to give an interesting look. So this has been, is being test knitted right now. I have 2, almost 3 testers finished. I think there are 2 finished, and there is 1 or 2 that are very near the end. I think they've got sort of just this section here to do. So it is a very big project though. It's quite a big knit. But hopefully it'll be out really soon. And for me, this is the kind of perfect thing to knit in autumn, getting ready for winter. You know, it really is something that when the days are much chillier and you need a bit of warmth around you, that it's a really good thing to knit. the weather is warm again now, unseasonally warm, but there again we've had a very, very warm summer. So I'm hoping for sort of the mid of this month, mid-September, hopefully things are starting to cool down then. Although the weather prediction said, some of them I read say we're going to be cold after this, and the others I read say that we might have more warm weather up into October. But anyway, by October you probably need to be, October, November, you need to be thinking about planning your cooler weather knitting anyway. So, and this wrap is called Be Brave. That was my motto for this year. And yeah, just try to challenge myself to do things. And I don't think it started because Titus asked me the one day, what does it mean to be brave? And so I said to him, well, what did he think? And he said he thought it was not to be scared, you know, to do these big sort of things without being scared. And I said to him that I thought being brave was being scared and doing something anyway. That I thought that you didn't have to be very brave if you weren't scared. Because then you could just rush out and do anything if you weren't scared. It wouldn't seem, you wouldn't need to be very brave. That I thought that people that were really brave were those that were probably the most scared and did it anyway. And I guess that's kind of what this year has seemed like to me. That a lot of things seem a bit scary or a bit overwhelming, whatever, and then just do them, try to do them anyway, you know, challenge myself to do some of these things anyway. And it's brave on everyone's own level. You know, sometimes getting out of bed in the morning is brave. I'm not talking about big heroic acts of rescuing people in burning buildings. I'm meaning the kind of brave that we need every day, the kind of sometimes brave you need to be a mom, sometimes brave you need to be a teenager in a new country. There's sometimes brave that means facing the scary things that are out there that feel really scary to us, even if we know they're not really that scary. That's the kind of brave I'm talking about. So this wrap is going to be called Be Brave, and also because it's got a lot of different stitches in it that you might not have done before or have done, but it's simple enough that if you only want to do the simple stitches, you could easily leave out the harder ones if you wanted, or you could be brave and try them. So it's got kind of various levels to be brave as a knitter, just to challenge us to acknowledge that sometimes things are hard, and that it doesn't mean that you have to do something without fear. It just means that we keep going, we keep trying, we keep pitching up and showing up and doing the best we can, really. So that's this wrap. Hopefully that'll be out really soon. And then there was a stitch that I did in this wrap. Oh, where is it? Yeah, this over here. This one. And I don't even know what it's called. I can't even remember what it was called in the book or wherever I found it. But to me, I kind of called it the butterfly stitch. It kind of looks like little sort of butterfly wings or whatever it is, I don't know. And to me that was kind of part of the whole being brave. You know, there was a little saying that said something about, you know, when you look at a caterpillar, you can never imagine that it's going to be a butterfly, and that to fly as a butterfly you actually have to leave the safety of the cocoon. You know, so we go through these changes in life and we can feel different and whatever, but the flying bit is quite, it takes being brave. You know, we have to go out there and challenge ourselves and all the rest. So I made a hat using the same stitch and some of the leftover yarn that I had, and this one is called Courage. The colours are coming out a bit washed up on the screen, but that's the mint and this kind of yellowy kelpie colour, which is much brighter. I will try to fix the brightness a bit. I know that there's the light behind in the door, but otherwise this room is, I don't know, it's hard to get the light completely right. Anyway, so on Instagram, when I put the hat on and I said what size pom pom should I do, everybody said the enormous one. So this hat has the most enormous pom pom, which I did with one of those pom pom makers. And what I have to encourage you is when your pom pom first comes off a pom pom maker, they all look fairly horrendous. Like, don't give up at that point. get yourself a Tupperware bowl, a nice big bowl, and a pair of nice sharp small scissors, and just slowly trim and trim and trim. It takes 20 minutes, half an hour to keep going round and just working at it slowly, shaping it as you go along. And then steam your pom-pom. That makes all the difference. That makes it all fluff up like this. That you don't get individual fibers, you get it kind of all nicely fluffed up and looking like a big full pom-pom. Instead of them looking like individual pieces, they kind of do sort of more of this, when it's before you, a lot more of kind of them standing on their own, kind of making little holes like this before you steam it. So what I do is, and be careful, because it is hot when you're steaming it. So what I do is I do it over the kettle, and I have the longest string still attached to the pom-pom. And then I take so the kettle doesn't turn off, I take the lid bit off, so it keeps making steam. And I don't hold it too close. You really don't want to burn yourself. So I will just kind of dip the pom-pom down there. So if your kettle's sort of here, and you've got the steam coming up, hold it over here and then move it away so you don't burn yourself, and sort of rub it. Just kind of fluff it up like this. Then hold the side to the sort of jet of steam. Hold your hands away all the time. Please do not quote my podcast and tell me you burnt your hands on steam. You have to be careful. It's hot. Even if you want to rather cover your hand in a towel and then hold it. But the kettle is down. Don't hold it right over. You're going to burn yourself. Be careful. It is steam. And if someone knows a better way, then tell me. But I just tend to do it over that. You could do it over a pot as well, holding your hand away from it. You don't need that much. You just get some steam on it and pull it away and fluff it like this, kind of bash it about like this a little bit, let it sort of do its thing, roll it, fluff it up like this in your hand, and it eventually goes nice and round and fluffy like that. And as you can see, there's even an end I haven't weaved in. It's decided to poke out. And so this is the Courage hat, and it has my enormously big pom-pom on it. I don't even know if it's fitting on the screen, is it? There on it. So you don't have to make yours quite as huge, but as you like. And then what I do with mine is I put a button on the inside, and so sew the button down, and then I thread the pom-pom through where you've closed the hat, the circle, but I kind of thread the pom-pom through there, and then tie it on here. And then if I don't want the pom-pom, or if I want to wash the hat, whatever it is, it's completely detachable. So it just kind of means that I can take it off if I don't want it. So this is the... I need to sew that in. I thought I'd sewn them all in this time. So this is the... Courage hat. And that's kind of because it's got the same stitch from the Be Brave wrap. Again, you kind of need to find your inner butterfly and let it fly. And that kind of takes courage and bravery. So those are the two patterns. The hat is also being tested at the moment. And those are the two patterns that hopefully will be coming out quite soon, in time for sort of the hat probably is a more autumn weight, because it is sock yarn, so it's not going to be very thick. I did the big hats collection of thicker hats that I think are kind of better suited for winter. What I did say though in the pattern was that you've always got the option to lengthen your ribbing here if you want to make ribbing that you could turn over, if you were looking for more coverage over your ears where the wind really gets in when it's cold. So yeah. And then the other thing that I'm knitting at the moment is socks. I'm going to use this one actually too. See, my foot shape is just made from any old bit of cardboard. Because this has got a cable and stuff, it's quite hard to see if you don't have it on a foot shape. So let me show you there. This is in some yarn that my mom gave me for my birthday, which is slowly changing, and I can't quite remember what the yarn is. I'm sure I put it on. Did I write it on here? It's a Debbie Bliss Rialto, which was the yarn. and I balled it up. The cake was sort of, I caked it up. The ball that was in was collapsing all over the place, so I kind of caked it up. And this is part of my science sock range. I've done the Schrodinger's cat socks already. The cats in the little boxes, half dead and half alive. And this, I wanted to kind of carry on the sort of sciencey theme with some more socks. So these are my DNA socks. So you can see they were on these two sides. They sort of DNA strands, two different ways of representing DNA strands, I suppose. If you can sort of see them there. So these are my sciencey DNA socks. Yeah, so I'm working on those next, and then we'll write up that pattern, and that will be hopefully available at some point. But it's been busy, 3 kids, homeschooling, etc., etc. I haven't had that much time. It always takes so much longer than I ever think it's going to, from ideas to writing patterns to getting it all tested to getting it finally to you guys. So yeah, it's a longer process than one sometimes imagines. But yeah, another exciting thing I wanted to tell you about was that I have been asked to be part of the Making Things app, and you can follow them on Instagram, and I think it's going to launch at the end of the month, end of September. It is like a cross between, you need to imagine, Netflix and Pinterest sort of thing. So it's a subscription service, and then you have access to the pattern library that they have. For your subscription fee, you then have access to all the patterns. Rather than buying a specific pattern, you have access across the board to all of them, which is quite nice because you can get to try out some new designers without kind of going, oh, I don't know that person, I don't know what their patterns are like, and I don't know if I'm going to like it, and then what if I've paid my money, and so it gives you the chance to try out some new people that you haven't necessarily tried, which is quite nice. The other really nice feature is that you get to interact with things, a little notch here. You get to interact with things a bit like Pinterest, so that your feed and my feed will always look different. So what depends what I like and what I look at and what I favorite and what I put in my sort of wish list kind of thing, as to what my feed looks like. And then yours would be different compared to what you do, which I think is quite nice, because as a designer, sometimes places like Ravelry and things like this, which are great because they have loads of patterns, but it can get a little bit busy or noisy. If you're new or if you're a much smaller designer, it can sometimes feel like you get lost in the noise a little bit, really. Whereas on this, you have the chance that somebody could come across your stuff because they've liked things that were similar and think to try it out where they might not have before, on a place like Ravelry, where I've often seen, you really got to go looking, and sometimes on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th page of a search, you come across a much smaller designer, and you think, oh gosh, that's actually quite nice, whereas people often gravitate to the popular ones because, obviously popular names, and there is merit in that too. But it just seems quite nice that you can get to see and try out and look at different designers, and that for people that are designing, that we can maybe get in front of a slightly different audience sometimes, which seems nice. So there's that feature which I really like. And then the way of interacting with your pattern is also different. So you don't just get your pattern there and then download it and that's that. And then they have to download it on a different device or whatever. This, you have access, once you've signed in on whatever device you're on, to your Making Things app. And you can bookmark where you are, you can write notes, you can highlight, you can mark where you are in repeats. You can interact with your pattern on the platform. So you don't need to print it out and make notes. You can make notes for next time. You can get to make almost like a scrapbook page, a bit like your projects page on Ravelry, but you get a lot more control over it. You can write it however you like. You can put as many pictures in as you like or not, and you can put, so you get a lot more customizable, kind of almost like a scrapbook page sort of thing of your projects page and how you want to, and then you can choose if you want that to be public or not, if it's just for you. Then the public ones obviously get shared below the pattern, and that's sort of how you see who's made what and how they've sort of done that. So yeah, I've been uploading some of my patterns to their platform, and I'm quite excited to be involved in that. So as I said, that's coming later on in the month. They are on Instagram, so you can follow them on the Making Things app on Instagram, and hopefully they'll kind of be telling you a bit more about launch dates and things like that. So that's kind of one of the other things I've been busy with. And I think that's about it. I think I'm going to, I don't even know how long this has been. Shall we have a look? 37 minutes, almost 40 minutes, and that sort of feels long enough for an introduction or a start back into podcasting. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. Like it, share it, whatever you want with your friends. If you want, let people know that I'm back. And I'll see if people want me to carry on doing it. I've really been encouraged by those that have reached out and said, "Oh, you're going to do this again." So I hope that I haven't let you down by it either being too long or too short or too rambly or whatever. But I'm being brave and I'm doing it, and we'll see. So love to hear from you. Love to hear what you've been up to, what you're making at the moment. Reconnect with me a little bit and tell me a bit about what you've been up to and what you've had to challenge yourself to be brave about. So this is my being brave, talking to you again and getting another pattern ready to release out into the world. So yeah, I have missed doing this, so I really hope that you'll interact with me and I can catch up a bit on what you're doing. Probably the best place to get quick response from me is Instagram. And I'm Pink Hair Girl Knits on Instagram. Come and chat to me. I'd love to catch up with what you're doing. And hopefully I'll be doing this again soon. Bye.